Good morning, councillors, and welcome to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 28th of November. I declare the meeting open at 9 a.m, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and their elders past, present and emerging. I have no leaves of absence this morning. Do any councillors have any conflicts of interest they'd like to declare on any of the reports today? Nope. Excellent. I will start today with Stephen Ball because he does not have any reports, so he's just got GB. Stephen, do you have GB for the councillors?
Through the chair, no I don't.
Councillors, do you have any GB for the Development Assessment Manager? Thank you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Mr Chair. Stephen, I just want to say thank you to your team. Over the weekend there was some confusion and some scares from the local community about some fill that happened in Kingston. Your team reacted very quickly and we found out that there's another group in council that is actually given approvals for some things that are happening down there. So thank you very much to the team. Thomas in particular, his response was perfectly written, understood every word of it. Thank you.
The real question is, Councillor Lane, which Thomas? There's two of them and they're both awesome. Any other councillors have GB for Stephen? All good. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. She's flicked you an email. We love it. Thanks, Stephen. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow for shenanigans with the service level reviews. Alrighty, councillors, we'll get stuck into the agenda. We'll start with... Oh, sorry, we'll do Michael too. My bad, Michael. Does anyone... I'll call Michael Asnikar, the manager of... He has a shiny new title. Not sustainability. Waste and resource recovery. Thank you. Do you have any GB for us, Michael? Councillors, do you have GB for Michael? Perfect. Well done, mate. See you later. Now I can get into the agenda. Now we'll get stuck into item 5.1, which is the Logan Village Riverfront Precinct Plan. Who would like to speak to this report? Oh, thank you. Ella, please present to the council.
Through the chair, thank you. I'll just give a brief overview of this report. So the purpose of this report is to seek council's endorsement for the Logan Village Riverfront Precinct Plan following community consultation. Now, following the 2018 Logan Village Forum, councils endorsed the Logan Village Implementation Plan, and quite a number of the actions in this plan relate to improving the Logan Village Riverfront Precinct. Now, this precinct plan was developed to create a framework to plan, design and deliver priority actions in a complementary manner that builds upon the momentum that has been derived from the place-based actions that has been delivered on the Logan Village Green. The plan provides an opportunity to realise one of the key outcomes from the Logan Village Forum to re-establish access to the Logan River and to create a shared community place where people can exercise, relax and embrace the natural and heritage significance of the Logan River. I'll just run through the process that we went through to develop this plan. So in the first instance, we developed an appreciation of the context, which is essential to understand the place before we make any recommendations for change or recommendations to improve a place. From the community consultation and feedback received from the community, we've developed a set of design principles to ensure that the projects in the precinct positively respond and align to the unique characteristics of this place and the future priorities. These design principles, importantly, also had to align with the urban design principles we established for the Logan Village Green, which is located in close proximity. In the document, those principles are set out, and building on the success of the Logan Village Forum and the consultation undertaken there, we've undertaken significant consultation to underpin this precinct plan. And I'll just quickly run through what that consultation included. We did a letter drop to inform people that lived in the precinct or owned land in the precinct to understand that this work is underway. There was significant social media consultation where we communicated the purpose of the project, and the draft plan was also communicated on social media. We then undertook a survey in July where we reached a total of 25,000 people. 19,000 reached the page, and we had 260 responses, which is quite significant for this size of development. The community was strongly in favour of pursuing the priority actions from the Logan Village Implementation Plan and activating the Logan River frontage for public use. And 87% of people agreed that the river-related actions in the implementation plan is still relevant for their community. We then also hosted information sessions on the village green. We had consultation with the First Nations people, and on the back of some of that consultation made some changes to the plan and provided some additional projects included in the plan. We then also had a pop-up event at the 160th anniversary event on the village green, where we consulted with the community through various activities. It's included a building block board where kids could show us what they thought of what the precinct should look like. There was a fishing activity to demonstrate the importance of engaging with natural features. We had democracy boards where where we encourage people to respond to aspirational images of what we see this precinct could look like. But importantly, it allowed us to engage not just with the landowners, the residents, community members, but kids of all ages within the area. We then had a second round of survey, which again reached 24,000 people. We didn't have that many visits to the page, and the responses were significantly reduced. But based on the feedback we received, we made changes to the draft plan, which is documented on page 13 in the actual document. We finalised the plan, which identifies 6 key moves or initiatives that will be key to deliver the vision for the Logan Riverfront Precinct. This plan provides a flexible staging plan and will allow Council to progress a number of key actions from the implementation plan in a manner that's consistent with our vision for the Logan River. Now, this plan doesn't commit Council to any budget or expenditure, but it will enhance our ability to obtain future funding or progress future priority projects. So our recommendation is that the precinct plan be endorsed subject to administrative changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. Councillors, do you have any questions for Ella? Is someone happy to move the report? Thank you, Councillor Karansky, seconded by Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously with the exception of Councillor Lane.
Abstain.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Great work, Ella. We will now, that is all of the reports that we have for Christian in his capacity as the Acting Economic Development and City Planning Manager. Christian, have you got any GB for us?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Councillors, do you have any GB for Christian? Take it away, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you. My microphone's a million miles away, sorry. Through the chair. I'm just curious with the new planning scheme, is it still on track for consultation for midway through next year?
Through the chair, we are on track. The schedule at this stage has us going to consultation the second half of next year, so around September. Right. A couple of weeks ago, we got an information response from the state. Because the regional plan's also under review at the moment, the state have flagged that there'll be a second information request. So depending on how significant that is and how late we get that from the state, that's probably the only risk to that schedule at this stage. But as far as we're concerned, we're still on track.
Are you able to disclose what that information request was for?
Happy to. So a lot of it was, I'd call it reasonably administrative or technical. A lot of drafting things in terms of how we'd structured the planning scheme. So it didn't cut to the policy decisions that council made last year. They've asked us to do a little bit of work in some of our environmental overlays, such as biodiversity, flooding, as well as steep slopes. So that's probably where most of the work is. But in terms of the policy decisions around centres and getting high density around our centres and public transport, they haven't flagged any concerns with that. However, as I said, the review of the regional plans are occurring at the moment. So I am curious as to what items will be in that second information request.
I'm curious as well because obviously there's a bit of a housing shortage at the moment. I'm just curious if they're going to be asking for second dwellings, granny flats, relaxations on certain things. Has that been brought up at all, do you know?
We've asked several times, but at this stage we don't know what's going to be in that second information request.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Any further questions, councillors? Nope. Thank you very much, Christian. Great job. We'll now move on to item 5.2, which is the Global Quality of Life Initiative. And David, Director of Growth and Economy and Sustainability, Mr. David Hanson, will speak to this report.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm going to take the report essentially as read, just highlight a couple of things. So Council's been offered the opportunity to join 7 other cities from around the world in co-designing a program of quality of life indicators, which we hope will give us the ability not only to benchmark ourselves against other cities around the world, but also importantly fill in some of the gaps in our own data, Logan-specific data, to help us understand our own city better. It's envisaged that whilst they're called quality of life indicators, they'll cover the widest spectrum of categories like economic participation, performance, community safety and health, mobility and transport, environment, those sorts of things. Council's participation in the program will form part of our BAU activities, business as usual, my apologies. So under the existing resources of both my Directorate Office and the Urban Research and Modelling Unit of the ED and CP branch. Therefore, no additional budgets being requested as to facilitate our participation. The recommendation of this report is essentially for the Mayor to send a letter to our intended partner organisation, UN Habitat, expressing our desire to be selected as one of those 8 pilot cities. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Dave. Councillor Bradley.
I don't have an issue with our involvement, but I just want to make sure it is scientifically based or some sort of factual data, research-based something.
Yeah, good question. So it will entirely be based on either the data that's available across both our community and the globe, essentially, with advisor partners to the UN, guiding the quality of that research and data gathering. So I'm very confident that the partners that are involved have done this work before and are very, very well versed in it.
Councillor Lane, then Mayor Power.
Thanks very much through you, Mr Chair. I'm quite intrigued by this, Dave, because our cultural diversity is second to none around the globe. So when it comes to the reports back on this, identifying obviously people coming in from overseas and settling here and what they experience and what they feel versus what other cities are doing and maybe who have less cultural diversity, it's going to be interesting to see the outcomes of this data matching. It's going to be good.
Through the chair, that was one of the reasons why I think they were attracted to Logan as a city, because we bring that kind of aspirational city lens, but also the multicultural lens, which connects into that global element.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I've got Mayor Power, then Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Director, my only concern is how much time and effort the officers will have to put into this. Because I am wary that budgets are tight, and of course your department, like everyone else, will want more staff as we continue to grow. And I'm just wondering, have you done some sort of study on this to suggest that the amount of effort that goes into being part of this will bring rewards that's worthy of the time that's put in there?
Through the chair, good question, Mr Mayor. I'm always very attuned to the resourcing impacts of this stuff as well. The amount of effort has been estimated by the UN to be contained within a 6 to 9 month period. So they'll work in those type of sprint mentality where we get together for workshops and over 1 or 2 weeks, and then we won't have a lot of effort to put in over the interim months. So, as I said before in my introduction, I'm confident that we can contain it within the business as usual functions of the team, because they are already collecting this type of data. They're already tasked with preparing a set of metrics to better provide a better evidence base for our decisions. So we're kind of building something by ourselves from scratch for something that we can actually get some assistance with.
And there's no requirement to go overseas?
There may well be some requirement to travel. So the way that it's been expressed to me at the moment is that the technical working groups over the course of the next year will come to us, but there will be a point in time where the project or the pilot project will need to be closed off, and the UN very much wants to celebrate that as a group of pilot countries So whilst I don't know exactly what that looks like, potentially in Q4 of next year, there'll be the requirement to attend a conference.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I was really intrigued reading this. I did do a bit of research online on the UN, on the programs that they run, and they have countries and cities involved in and things like this. Do we know what other cities are going to be involved, particularly in this program? Because the other programs I looked at were pretty much all third world countries. I didn't really find any first world.
Through the chair, so they haven't actually been all locked down and made available to us. I am aware of a couple which still are subject to confidentiality, but they are very much first world countries. And I think that's the real benefit of this. So this is really going to form a subset of the Sustainable Development Goals, which have always been focused on the uplift around third world countries. So this is very much, they want to grow this program to sort of between 300 and 500 countries over the next 5 years. So you won't get that other than pursuing cities like Logan across the globe.
I'd welcome it. As Councillor Lane just said, there's 234 cultures that live here. I think this is a fantastic initiative from the UN to actually target Logan to be part of this. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit worried about. You mentioned data sharing. I'm a little bit concerned about the risk implications towards when you start opening up and sharing data, especially internationally. Has there been any research into any of the risk implications that this might put to us in terms of data security?
Through the chair, it's not such an issue in my mind, because it's not like we're externalising access to our own systems. We're collecting a range of bespoke data across a number of metrics which would be just collected for the purposes of this project. So it's not sort of opening up council's system for access. It's agreeing what we're going to measure and then making those specific measurements available. So I don't see the risk.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any further questions? No, all good. Dave, just one from me. Is there any opportunity, so if we're doing all this extra work and we're providing the UN with valuable information that they're going to use to inform their programs, do they have any funding that's available for us? Or is it a two-way street, or do we put everything in?
No, it's very much a two-way street. So, for instance, if there is a metric that we would like to measure around, for instance, child health in Logan, and we can't find access to the data, whether it be through state or federal government or our own community partners, the offer from the program partner is that they would help fund the bespoke collection of that particular data. So it is very much a both ways. Yeah.
Brilliant. Sounds good. Any further questions, councillors? No? Then I will put the motion to the floor. Would someone like to move the motion on the screen? Thank you, Councillor Russell. Would someone like to second that? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 5.3, which is the South East Queensland Climate Resilience Alliance. I note that item 5.3 has two confidential attachments. Those attachments are the deed and terms of reference. So unless you specifically want to talk about those two attachments, I will keep this meeting public. Does anyone wish to move into confidential? Nope. Excellent. Then I will hand over to the Health, Climate and Conservation Manager, Mr. Brett Espenson, to speak to his report.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is seeking Council's approval to become a member of a newly established South East Queensland Climate Resilience Alliance. You may recall that back in 2021, Logan City Council led a pilot project which was fully funded by a state government grant to investigate options to accelerate climate resilience building and on-ground community actions through regional collaboration. The recommendation of that pilot project was to create this alliance based on established and successful models used in other jurisdictions in Australia. At this stage, we have commitments from Brisbane, Gold Coast, Ipswich, Lockyer, Moreton and Noosa to join the alliance. And in terms of arrangements, Ipswich City Council will host a project officer funded by these member contributions that we're seeking today. The benefits there will be that we'll be able to leverage larger pools of funding as an alliance to work collaboratively on projects to find some regional solutions. budget implications here are $20,000 membership fee per year from Logan's contribution. This year to be pro rata funded by branch savings, and future years intended to be coming from the environment levy. And our recommendation is to support membership today.
Thank you, Brett. I have questions from Councillor Heremiah, Councillor Bradley, Councillor Wilcox. Take it away, Councillor Heremiah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question's around the governance of this alliance. You've mentioned that there's a $20,000 ongoing annual fee for Logan City Council. Do the other member councils also pay $20,000, or do they pay different amounts?
Through the chair, can I talk about this outside of confidential, given it relates to the deed?
The numbers are in the public part of the report.
Good. Thank you. So the member contributions are based on a population basis. So Brisbane obviously paying the highest, down to Lockyer Valley paying the lowest, so it's a percentage base. We sit somewhere in the middle, paying about 11% of the overall contribution of approximately $180,000 to the Alliance.
Thank you. And the Alliance Committee is made up of these member councils. Do their voting rights work on the basis of the contribution or on the basis of being a council?
Through the chair, the voting rights are 1 vote per member.
Thank you. And we've seen this, I've personally seen this in different scenarios where one council contributes significantly more to an alliance or a company, yet we receive fewer voting rights per resident. A smaller council that contributes less can have its perspective, but Logan City Council should be equally represented, and our residents should be equally represented. And under that governance regime that we're voting on today, Logan residents are contributing more and have less of a say than residents in other councils. So this sounds like a great idea to investigate, but the way it's set up, the way the governance has been established, is not in the interest of our city's residents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Heremiah. Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I'm just curious how different is this compared to the LGAQ climate resilience task force that I represent council on and have all of this term? How is that any different? And it hasn't cost council money.
Through the chair, this is more focused on identifying on-ground project activities that can be delivered at the council level, using a single project officer to pull together those funding opportunities for the broader council areas.
Okay, because that's exactly what the LGAQ Climate Resilience Task Force is about as well. So I don't know what the difference is. Are you able to maybe send me an email with information about what is proposed here and what the task force that I'm on does? Because in my mind it's the same. And you just mentioned about a staff member. Does that mean we've got to employ someone specifically to do this?
Councillor Bradley, in the report it talks about where the staff member comes from. I think it's Ipswich has an existing staff member, if that's correct.
Through the chair, the staff member is employed by Ipswich City Council, and we have our existing staff who would be members of the task force to contribute to that, but they have the funding pays for a project officer hosted by Ipswich City Council.
But you mentioned a staff member. Is there going to be a staff member in the budget specifically for this?
Not Logan City Council's budget, no.
Dave, can you speak to the differentiation between LGAQ's climate task force and this one?
Yeah, through the chair, my observation is that the LGAQ is similar to the Planning and Development Advisory Group. It's a policy-based, like it focuses on policy and legislation changes. It doesn't actually end up with projects on the ground. I haven't seen that as part of that LGA group. So to the manager's point, I haven't seen any of LGAQ's work end up in a policy or project being delivered on the ground.
From memory, there were projects that were outside our city, and yeah, there were
The other key difference for LJQ is it's statewide rather than just SEQ, I think. But yeah. All good. Councillor Wilcox, then Councillor Hall, and then Councillor Power.
Thank you. I was sort of going along the same lines, wondering how this is different to ComSec. With this one, I'm assuming this one is attended by officers rather than a political arm. So is that the main difference between these two? To seek approval.
Through the chair, Logan led the pilot project with the other councils, so it was a collaborative effort to develop the model. And at this stage, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Ipswich, Lockyer, Moreton and Noosa have committed to the alliance.
And so is the main strategic arm of this, is it to get on the ground doing different projects? Is that what you're actually trying to do with this?
Through the chair, yes. Some examples of some projects that might be delivered: EV charging infrastructure, bulk buy for community batteries, community calculation of community emissions, procurement activities, education campaigns, those sorts of things.
And will it discuss flood mapping across the southeast region, whoever's involved as well?
Through the chair, that hasn't been identified as something we would talk about, no.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Hall, then Mayor Power, then Councillor Stamp.
As a community advocate, my concern with this is really the community hasn't really been consulted as to whether we want to be part of something like this. The other concern I have is that when we do join these groups, it seems like a lot of the other council shires are buddy-buddy, and we seem to miss out on a lot. So unless you're part of the league groups, then you'll find that all the projects, all the focus tends to go to one place, and I don't think that's very fair for Logan. I prefer sticking to things which are business as usual and focusing our efforts there. If I was going to put $20,000 towards something, I'd prefer to put $20,000 towards a project in Logan itself.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I think the goal of this is to identify projects that are regionally focused so that we can get best bang for buck rather than going it alone and hoping that we do the best job we can.
People in Logan often go it alone, and that's just the way we are.
Noted. Mayor Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any legal requirement to be in this?
Through the chair, no, this is a voluntary.
Okay. Look, we've paved our own destiny on this. We are well in front of everyone else. We continue to work on, and strive for progress. As you know, we've got a net zero program happening at the water treatment plant. We have our biochar facility. We have methane gas extraction at the Browns Plains tip. We have electric vehicles. We have solar panels everywhere. We are progressing beyond all the other local authorities towards net zero. I struggle to realise why we should be part of this when we are so far advanced of all these others. Whether it's just to be there to rub their nose in it, I don't know. But my suggestion is that, you know, collaboration's good, and we're working with Redlands and Ipswich, with our MRF, again, progressing, and we're looking at obviously progressing beyond that. There's nothing here that's knocking me out to suggest we need to spend another $20,000, be part of a group of councillors that are not going anywhere near where we're going. We are progressing. I think we just stay out of it and just make our own destiny, because I think this council is exceptional with this particular category, and I think all we'd be doing is sitting there telling them what to do, because this is what we're doing. I have been at the council of mayors. I haven't heard anything great coming out of the other councils. I think we just progress in our own direction and leave them to their own devices. I understand they're probably going to put money together and collaborate, probably on things we've already got. And it could be a waste of our money and effort and time, officers' time, on top of the $20,000. My suggestion is that we stay out of it and save ourselves $20,000 a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just let Dave respond to the benefits of being in a regional partnership.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only disclaimer that I would add to those points, Mr. Mayor, is that, for instance, a lot of the net zero projects and solutions that have been offered, they do rely on achieving a degree of scale across the region. So that was the attraction of this alliance membership, that we can potentially seek and secure customers that would amplify the solutions that are currently just available for Logan. So,
like the MORPH program, where we're working with Redlands and Ipswich already. We're already progressing in these areas. We'll be associated with councils that probably aren't progressing that quickly on other projects. And as Councillor Bradley said, we're already linked in with the other local authorities with this already. So we're just being part of another organisation. It's a duplication.
Dave, do you want to respond to why it's not a duplication, or is that a fair comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't necessarily agree. I think the MRF has an alliance of its own that is established, that's been agreed by council, that will move forward. So this isn't intended to duplicate. The example in my own mind is the Logan Water gasification, where they are looking for regional scaling of that technology. That's a perfect example which we can offer into this alliance and work with Logan Water and external partners. So it's not,
can I just
not
say,
a duplication
I enjoy
in my
the fact
mind.
that we're the only one in the southern hemisphere with that biosolid gasification plant. If the others want that technology, sure, come across. You can buy that information from us.
That's what he's saying, Mr. Mayor. So he's saying that if we're in... No, we want them to be our customer. That's what he's saying. So we're in the alliance and we say, hey, we've already got this technology. Give us your waste and we'll sell it back to you as carbon credits.
That's already progressing with one of our officers. They're already contacting other local authorities so that we take their waste, their human waste, as part of a business study. That is already progressing.
Good. Councillor Stemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. The one item in here that I just wanted to get some clarity on, it said one major benefit was the ability for councils to collectively apply for larger pools of funding. So what sort of funding would we be able to potentially apply for that we wouldn't be able to apply for through other organisations we've already talked about?
Through the chair, it's more about the scale of the funding. So if the scaling up the projects, doing them on a regional basis, gives us a better bang for our buck when we're applying for those pools. Yes, we can apply for those pools ourselves individually, but we don't have the scale of projects that sometimes are needed for those big regional projects to get the leverage of those funds.
Could you give me an example of a big regional project?
Through the chair, some of the things we were talking about were community battery projects. So we're moving outside of the council sphere and looking at the whole of the city. Community battery projects, education campaigns, environmental upgrades, network traffic reviews, those sorts of things.
Thank you, Councillor Stemp. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just wondering, what are the implications of not joining? Will we miss future or potential opportunities that we don't know exist now, but if we're not in this group, then we've just blown that opportunity, I guess?
Through the chair, as I said, we have no obligation to join this, and if we do not join, then yes, it's those missing out on those regional collaboration opportunities.
So if we miss out on these regional collaboration opportunities, will it be an opportunity that we've missed to possibly save council money, or will it be something that will cost council money? Because we're all talking about 20 grand. That's not a lot of money really in the big scheme of things. However, if there are projects that cost $10 million every year or something, that could cause us a bit of grief in the future.
Through the chair, it's about that economy of scale of what the project would end up costing, reducing the cost per unit price. An evaluation done of the Victorian model, which has been in place for 10 years, has shown a return on investment of about 7.9 times the membership fees through those collaborative efforts and the scale that you get through these groups.
No further questions, Councillor Fraser. I have Councillor Russell, Councillor Lane, Councillor Bradley and Councillor Hall, noting that both Bradley and Hall are taking a second shot. Councillor Russell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So collaboration is good. I think we all agree with that. Sometimes councillors aren't always at the best at it, which is why it's great that this will be an officer level alliance. We also can't address climate resilience alone as a city on its own. It's actually the whole planet that needs to be working on that together. So I'll be supporting this comparably minimal investment today. No question.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. I don't think there's anyone's doubt in anyone's mind that Logan City Council is a leader when it comes to innovative ideas, the biochar facilities, the solar work that we've done. There's a range of things that officers have worked on for a number of years and council have supported. I think when it comes to this, it is a minimal output. The benefits are just being at the table. And while it might not be a vote for every person comparatively on the spend, having that voice at the table is an important part of it. The thing that I don't want to see is that this turns into something where we get essentially railroaded into committing funding for a future project that's beyond our scope and beyond our real sort of urgency to complete. That's my only concern with this. It's nice to have these talk fests where you actually exchange ideas, but when it comes to, hey, let's work on this $700 million project, but we're going to put it in according to the size of our council and all work together. We know that Brisbane overspends because they had to reel back in $400 million of spending. I think we're a lot more conservative with that, and I don't know about other councillors, but that's my concern, is that we're going to be pushed into doing something we're not quite ready for, or to put ratepayers into debt. So if you can promise conservative discussions around funding and coming back to us, then I'll support this today. It's just we can't always do it alone, and we are leaders, but it's 20K.
Brett, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, through the chair, thank you. I just wanted to highlight that the agreement explicitly states that any contributions beyond the $20,000 membership fee are not mandatory. So councils have the option to individually opt in or out of further projects if it doesn't meet their strategic goals, budget requirements, those sorts of things.
Thank you, Brett. Councillor Bradley and then Hall, I believe is the order I had you in. Yep, Bradley, off you go.
Thank you. Initially, my hand went up when it was expressed about the Victorian model, but I want to ask you about that in a minute. But I will elaborate on what Councillor Lane said, because I have been here where these sort of things have ended up being projects in other cities that we have contributed to. For example, rehabilitating rivers in other cities that can't fund it. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But can you just elaborate, please, Brett, what you said in passing about something in Victoria? Can you please elaborate on what that was?
So through the chair, part of the pilot project was to evaluate other existing alliances that have been in operation across the country. Mm-hmm. The model that we have based this alliance on is the Eastern Alliance for Greenhouse Action in Victoria, which is a similar sort of size group comprising of 8 councils. They've been in operation since 2012, and I have a report done in 2021, so after about 9 years of operation, showing net financial value to the councils in the order of $10 million, that return on investment of about 7.9 times their member contributions.
Can you please is it possible to send me that information?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Hall.
The wise man waits. So the wise man lets the group jump off the cliff and they see where they land and then makes a decision for themselves whether they want to jump off as well. I think that this is probably a really great idea, but I think we're in a position ourselves that we could actually just sit back, see what this group does first, and then decide whether or not we want to join up later on if we see that what they're doing has a lot of merit. I don't think there's any urgency for us to join this group right now. Is there any opportunity that we can say no at the moment, but yes later on?
Through the chair, as I said, no obligation to say yes. And yes, I'll caveat this, but I think there would be an opportunity to join later. The term of the current agreement goes until 25-26. I'm not sure if there would be opportunity in the current term, but it's only a short term for that alliance before the next opportunity would arise anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I'm in your hands, councillors. Councillor Murphy is happy to move the motion as it stands. I'll test the first motion, and then if you've got an alternative motion, yep.
Just with the budgeting of this, I noticed there was a $10,000 allocation for the half year, and then 20,000, 21,000 after that. That is coming out of savings. Where's that coming from?
Through the chair, that $10,000 would be from branch savings this financial year, and then the recommendation is to seek the 20,000 to come out of the environmental levy in the future 2 years.
I'm just very wary that we seem to find a lot of branch savings, with other things. But I would suggest that it be a new initiative. Look, I'm not that dying the ditch on this, but I would have suggested with Councillor Hall's idea that we sit it out for 6 months, have a look what they're progressing, and then get involved with a new budget initiative as actually go into this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm having some issues with the motion. So I'll test the straight motion first, and then if that fails, I'll test an alternative motion. While the girls try and find the original motion, which is in your agendas, so I'm sure you're all familiar with it. My suggestion would be if we choose not to join now, we ask questions about Councillor Jeremiah's point around the governance structure with proportional representation based on investment rather than equal representation irrelevant of investment. I think makes councillors feel much more comfortable when their investment is represented by more equitable rather than equitable representation. But we'll just see how this goes. Yes, Councillor Russell.
Thank you. I just got a question about that. I noted that there is some staffing that is being supplied by another council. Is that being taken into account with the, the sort of dollars of investment? Is that being taken into account?
Brett.
Through the chair, the contributions are there to fund that project officer that's being hosted by Ipswich City Council, and Ipswich City Council will host and employ that person at their expense and risk, using those funds.
eScribe is not working, so instead we have the recommendation on the screen from the report. Councillor Murphy has moved that. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Russell has seconded that. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That has been carried, but not unanimously. Councillors, I'll go through the room and get you to declare your position. Councillor Power. Can you do it on the mic for me, please, Councillor Power?
Abstain.
Councillor Bradley.
Abstain.
Councillor Lane.
For.
Councillor Russell.
For.
Councillor Karansky.
For.
Councillor Hall.
Abstain.
Councillor Fraser.
For.
Councillor Jeremiah.
Abstain.
Councillor Bannon.
Against.
Councillor Stamp.
Against.
Councillor Wilcox.
For.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
And I was for. Thank you very much, councillors. That motion has been carried. The longest debate on $20,000 I've seen in quite some time, Mr. Mayor. The councillors, that brings us to the end of the Health, Climate and Conservation Manager's report. Brett, do you have any general business for us?
Through the chair, no, thank you.
Councillors, do you have any general business for Brett? No. Do you have any more general business for Dave? Dave, you got any for us? No, great work. Thank you very much. I declare the meeting closed at 9:45. The City Infrastructure Committee will begin in 10 minutes at 9:55. Thank you very much to everyone.